So today we will explain to you about non-Muslim view related with halal slaughter in Malaysia. Our presenter is Nurul Aisyah, Nur Aina Atika, Muhammad Ikmal, Nurul Husna Nabila, and also Muhammad Amir Fahmi. And first of all, what is slaughter? Slaughter means killing animal for food. In Islam, a Muslim required to slaughter the animal first before eating them, according to Surah Al-Ma'idah ayat 5. And actually, there is a lot of purpose for doing halal slaughter. First of all is to differentiate between clean and unclean meat. Second is to diffuse out the blood to avoid disease from harmful bacteria and also toxin. And lastly is as a sign of respect to other creature of Allah. Slaughter also have a lot of benefit, which is the blood of animal will be removed properly when slaughter. Second is the density of the meat will be better. And also the lastly is to protect us as a human from any infection disease.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nuraina Atika binti Muhammad, and I will continue this presentation with research objective, which is there is two research objective, but before that I will go through the problem statement. Our problem statement is, we know that Malaysia is very famous with variety of various culture, races and religion. So we want to know the range of understanding about halal slaughter between non-Muslim itself, even though we know that Malaysia already famous about halal slaughter. Okay, so the next one, I will explain about research objective, which is there is two. The first one is to identify the views, level of awareness and acceptance of non-Muslim towards halal slaughter. So we want to know either the non-Muslim accept about halal slaughter and do the level of understanding are high or low. So in this report we will know about their level. Okay, so the second one is to minimize the knowledge gap upon halal slaughter between Muslim and non-Muslim in Malaysia. So as we know that there is still some gap between them about halal. Even though, like I said before, it's already famous in Malaysia, but there is still have some gap. So in this report we will know and we will minimize the understanding, so the non-Muslim will understand more the benefit of halal slaughter itself. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you.
So let's go further on the literature review. As you know, Muslim overview upon slaughtering was broadly practiced since back then. Therefore, in today's era, the halal slaughtering practice has been accepted and also been received in a good way by the non-Muslim. According to the literature written by Matthew et al., they highlighted in this literature which is the non-Muslim understanding about the concept of halal. First of all, we also know that halal slaughtering is also contributing with the halal concept as in overall concept. Thus, in this literature, they had found that non-Muslim recognize the meaning of halal food and can embrace it with an open-minded, which means nowadays all non-Muslim are kindly accept the concept of halal that we as a Muslim have been practiced, especially in Malaysia. Next, a literature written by Jalil on 2018 highlighted about the halal meat product diverse in various culture and race. This literature examines a survey in assessing the understanding of and attitudes regarding halal meat product in two contrasting countries, which is Malaysia and Australia. The result on the justification shows in the report upon these two group of respondents to prevent or purchase halal meat product were mostly common purchase for religious purposes, which mean the non-Muslim views upon not buying the halal meat product because of their religion obligation or religion's constitution. Conversely, it must be mentioned that in this case of Australia and Malaysia, it found the geographical representation on socio-economic indices. Thus, it cannot therefore be completely certain that populations are equivalent exactly. The third literature is highlighted about the awareness of existence on animal welfare. According to Rizai et al. On 2012, non-Muslims are mindful of the presence and consciousness of the halal value that are halal definition through advertising. Therefore, the non-Muslim did not believe that the halal definition was solely concerned about animal protection. However, some claims says that the Islamic method of slaughter is one of the safest way to ensure that the animal does not suffer. Last but not least, a study shows that on average, knowledge of halal values and halal food item is determined by the positive attitude, pressures from the others, and perceived power. Result to an article written by Golnas on 2010 that highlighted about a non-Muslim speculation and thought upon halal slaughtering method. In this article has appointed that non-Muslim would more likely think of it as cruelty to animal, assuming that the animal would suffer disproportionately for about 2 minutes until their death. However, the Islamic principle of slaughter clearly state that the knife used of slaughter must be very sharp to ensure a simple, deep, and clean cut through the essential anatomy of the animal necks. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now we're moving on to the finding research. As has been mentioned before, the four journals that have been reviewed, mostly the previous researchers finding that non-Muslim are actually aware about this halal slaughtering. However, there have some give a good acceptance to what is halal slaughtered and some argue with this halal slaughter. For those who give a good acceptance to what is halal slaughter, they say they believe in Islam, teach and implement tolerance towards animals while slaughtering and avoiding animal cruelty. Otherwise, for those who argue with this halal slaughtering, their point of view state that there have an intolerable in this practice and involve inhuman treatment of animals. They said that halal slaughtering doesn't take care of animal welfare. So that's all the result and the finding that can be summarized. And last but not least, firmly he said that actually non-Muslims are aware of this existence of halal slaughtering. Thank you.
For the conclusion, from the case study titled Halal Slaughtering in Malaysia, non-Muslim views showed both Muslim and non-Muslim perspective of halal slaughtering not tally as a good animal welfare in relation to halal slaughter practice like suffering, fear and discomfort of animal. Because animal also the servant of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, right? So, the knowledge I learned are very useful in resolving the needs of humanity for the provision of meats appropriate to the religious obligatory. At the same time, fulfilling the needs of society and the religious are concerned with respect to the health of animal during the slaughter. Then, the essential role of education has been shown and the lack of clarity as to which practices are needed for halal slaughter, especially in Malaysia. Islam teach zero tolerance to all kind of animal cruelty in the supply chain of halal meat processing and call for the slaughter of animal to be carried out in responsible and diligent manner. For the actions, education campaigns should ideally rely on these communities on this subject if they are to be a future arbiters of progress. Before I end, the adequate awareness is not acceptable under halal slaughter could change attitude toward halal animal product, both among non-Muslim and Muslim who are seen to be uncertain as to some of the restrictions that their religious practice demand. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.